Hi, people. My name is Jeff, and welcome to I think it's episode 5 now of the FOTS-cast, our hopefully monthly podcast dedicated to the Total Fall of the Samurai mod team and all of its mods. Today with me, I have Izzy, the lead developer of the Carlist Wars mod.
Hello, guys.
So, without any further ado, I think we can just jump into the first round, which is the sending questions. Now, a good couple of these are going to be for, of course, Scramble, so I'll do my best to answer them in absence of the new lead developer for Scramble of the Far East. So, first on question, as always, is going to be when will it release? When is Carlos going to release? It's a question that will forever haunt us.
Is it Carlist or Scramble?
Carlist.
Ho ho.
No, I actually made some modifications to the Ask Us Anything cheat where you actually have to select what mod the question is about.
Yeah.
So, of course, release date, we all know the meme. When
Yeah,
it's done.
exactly. I am taking my time. Let's see. Hopefully end of this year, but shortly.
Then the next couple of questions, then the next question is going to be, and I feel that this is one aimed at like both mods, and that's how many factions will you plan to add to Total Fall of the Samurai? And for Scramble, currently no plans to add new factions.
From the Carlist Wars, well, actually most of those questions also can be found in the ModDB page. If you go to which was it again? Yeah, with the campaigns, if you go to campaigns articles, then you can see that in the Carlist Wars mod, there will be 6 playable factions. So Liberal Spain, Carlist Spain, Liberal Portugal, Miguelist Portugal, France, and the United Kingdom. And with later updates, the game will represent all 3 Carlist Wars, which until the year 1876, so the end of the Third Carlist Wars. So if the Carlist Wars are finished, so you can just think 6 playable factions in campaign. Custom battles, single player only, will be a bit more, maybe 8 or 10, depends which ones. But if you are adding, of course, the invasion of or French invasion of North Africa, that means, of course, you will have added factions like the Ottoman Empire, but it's more reflected in the vassal state of Algeria, Morocco, and some Berber tribes and Arab tribes from there.
And the next question is going to be for me again, and that's when we are going to be accepting new beta testers, and that is hopefully in the next few days as we are ramping up development on the Scramble of the Far East balance patch that we will hopefully have ready for the July 4th event. So keep an eye out for messages coming your way if you have ever submitted an application. Lastly, again, another question I'm going to have to answer in absence of the Scramble lead developer. How important is single player to development team, and what changes are planned for it? First of all, a complete overhaul to building chains. As the building chains are now, they are relatively hard to figure out, as well as the general lack of unlockable units for the tech tree. But all of that is still very much under debate on how it will be handled, as we are thinking of remodeling the tech tree into an escalation tree, where instead of Well, it's probably still going to be called development because I don't know if you can actually change that. But development is more going to reflect how hot a conflict is and how much it has escalated, and the higher the escalation gets, the better the units are you're able to bring in. And that's kind of the idea we're working with at the moment. As the campaign itself is very much about the colonization of Japan. And of course, as a Japanese faction, you want to modernize as fast as possible, and as a invading faction, you want to have your best units in the field as fast as possible. So it's kind of a balancing act we have to work with there. But that was all the questions. So then it's time to, I think, just talk about what we did with the development teams. And that's the fact we split them in two.
Yep.
So right now we have two development teams. The Carlist War development team, headed by Izzy, and the Scramble for the Far East team, headed by...
Pronounce his name.
I'm trying. No, I'll have it on screen right now.
I just say Megalo, much easier for me.
Yeah. By Megalo, me, and Nixie. And Nixie is from what was it again? Imperial Splendor.
Ah, cool. I didn't know that, by the way, but
Not. I thought it was Imperial Splendor. I'll have to look it up. So don't hold me accountable for anything I say here.
yeah.
But yeah, currently the main focus for the teams is of course going to be that Izzy is going to continue working on the Garless Wars and implementing all the tier 1 units and the important historical generals.
Yeah.
And
I
for
will,
the Scramble team, it is currently of priority to get multiplayer balanced.
Yeah.
Or at least as balanced as we can get it.
I will probably make a roadmap for the Carlist Wars, so then everyone has a bit of an idea. First for the Patreon members and the team and all. But then later I will add it for everyone so they can see approximately what the plan is for the Carlist Wars. But maybe we can elaborate why we actually split teams. What do you think?
It's mainly so that we actually can get work done on Scramble, as Izzy, of course, as the lead developer, would have all the actual files for developing the mod. And it is kind of hard to work on those with two people at the same time. Or just in general share them. So we decided to move all of the assets from Scramble to someone else to form a branch off team that can focus solely on Scramble, while Izzy can put all of his effort into the Carlist Wars.
Yeah, it's easier because otherwise, for me personally, it's too much work. I think it's the best that way, and I think for both of you guys, you also learn more how to mod. I think that more of the work can be separated, so I get less responsibilities. I think it's easier that way. It's under the total Fall of the Samurai series, but it's just a different dev team. I think it's perfect that way, and I can concentrate quietly on the Carlist Wars, and you guys work on the Scramble. And of course, I'm still, I think, still technical advisor if you all need help or technical advice or even some unit parts or whatsoever you need. No problem. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
And internally, there's also been a good bit of looking at when you're going to do a YouTube series fully focused on modding tutorials.
Yeah.
At least we hope that that's going to be something in the future, because that would honestly be really helpful, as currently there's not really many tutorials out there on YouTube, and even less of those that are still watchable.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I made some very um, basic, but I mean, um, I gave all the source files to the other mod team, so you know, every question for Scramble goes to that team. Chorus Wars can come to me, but just Scramble that, because I cannot. I had for Scramble I had an idea, but it's possible that you guys have a different idea. So, I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
it's currently just a lot of ideas floating around.
yeah. Yeah, perfect. So let's see how it goes with the tier 2 units in Scramble. So perfect then.
We're mainly looking at tier 2 units in the next few months. It's not going to be something that's going to be done by the end of summer,
Okay.
as we still have to figure out a lot of stuff on how to actually fully make them, and
Per-
also pester Izzy with a million questions every single day.
I okay. Strange because I actually explained some stuff to Megalo and to Nixie Dust also in how to use a bit the units editor.
And that has been very helpful. It's mainly just going to be questions about really silly bugs that we let slip in,
Okay.
because
Um,
we really don't know what the hell we're doing.
you're talking about the assembly kit, I guess.
Mainly assembly kit, adding new units, assigning all the correct values, all the correct stuff to them.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I think I have to make a tutorial on a bit. I mean, the making a custom unit actually gives you a bit of a good idea, the basic of everything.
I myself am mainly just going to be focused on stat changes of already existing units, so that's not really something that's too hard to do.
Yeah.
And we have already set up a Google Sheet with all the frequently used tables that I can just go in there, make some quick changes, and then when the next update comes around, it gets copy pasted into the dev kit tools and exported that way.
Yeah. Perfect.
But
I'm
it is, as you say, the adding units, changing building trees, changing the tech tree. It's all stuff we're going to have to figure out how to do.
yeah. I mean, it takes time. That I can tell you. It takes a bit of time. Normal. I remember that the guys from Rise of Mordor. You probably have heard about that
Yeah,
mod. Before they had another older team. That team left. I think they put the mod on hold, and then a new team took over. And it took them time also to learn how to use the tools. But I mean, you see those guys now, and
it's
they're
not
pretty.
only time to learn how to use the tools, but learn how everything was organized by the previous team and
Uh,
how they did things and implemented stuff.
that's me. Yeah, correct. Yeah, but yeah, that's why you got the assembly kit, and you have to start changing stuff to your liking, and that's it.
No, but more news on Scramble will be coming out in the next few weeks, as well as a call for beta testers to play test the stat changes.
Yeah, and maybe it's also to talk or do a podcast with Nixie and
And
um,
that's
Miguel.
already that's something I'm already planning on to do. There's a couple of things I'm working on. Main thing is to get a actual logo done for the FOTS-cast.
Yeah. Okay.
So and trying to see if I can replicate the style you used for the Total FOTS logo.
I can give you a link if you want for it.
That would be great.
I mean, it's in
Uh,
Photoshop, but I'm not sure if I put everything. It's possibly actually that it's in the link of my OneDrive that I put on the dev team for Scramble. I'm not sure. I
then
think yes.
I'll look at it then.
I know it's a lot of files. If you have
It's a
noticed.
lot of files.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of files your computer doesn't like.
Yeah. uh, there are some, yes, like some programs.
Yeah, some that aren't from the most reputable sources, I must say,
Uh,
but don't actually have any other way of obtaining them, sadly.
yeah, 3ds Max are. I mean, sadly, that's the stupid thing about Autodesk is they don't allow for newer systems, newer 3ds Max versions
To
to.
export in the older file formats.
Yeah, it's stupid. And the mistake that CA also did is that they actually made the converter for the 3ds Max 2010 version, but the raw files that they put on the assembly kit is 2013 only. So you can't open them in a 3ds Max 2010 actually. So of course most
So you have to first make it in 2013, export it, convert it into 2010, and then import it into the game.
correct, but most unit parts that I made that are in the link for the Scramble dev team, um, all of them have a 2013 version and a 2010 version. So in theory, you do not need 2013. Very
No,
simple.
we could just like straight up work in 2010 and
Yeah,
use it that way, but it's mainly if you want to alter stuff that's already in game.
correct. I prefer to use 2013 version and export it to 2010 because I like it more. The material editor is better. It's much more easier to work with, and 2010 I don't like so much. I just use it purely to convert to the binary file for the game. That's it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to make new unit parts, then you need, of course, 2010. But you could do it in 2013 also. Same thing actually. But my advice: don't start or don't make or don't start use or making new unit parts because it takes a lot of time to get it to understand the program a bit. So I think I made a lot of unit parts, and mostly you could use for the tier 2 units or even 3 or 4, I think.
It's mainly that we are going to be converting them into lower polygon versions of those units parts, like you've done for the Carlist Wars,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
that it will be more easier to run it, more stable to run it, and will prevent the oh, this guy doesn't have a torso glitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the mistake I did actually in the past because I didn't know with the situation with the HD version with it that it gives a glitch. But yeah, that's of course what you got to work with. Um, yeah, sadly. But you could fix it indeed by making new low polygon unit parts. So that's possible.
So a couple of the other things I'm working on is well, of course, Scramble, but I'm also working at getting all the OBS assets ready for the events, as I am going to be live streaming them as spectator, not
Mhm.
actually playing myself. And I do want to invite a couple of the partnered content creators to play in it.
Uh, yeah, that'll be pretty. Triple Z
So
Hacker is pretty good. You shogun too.
So that would be Triple Zacker, Jackie Fish. I can't remember the other two right now.
King Miles and
Uh,
yeah,
King Miles. Maybe also Lord John
yeah. I'm sure
if
he's
he wants to come.
yeah. Correct.
So
Cool.
those are the people I'm definitely going to be inviting. I'm going to look around to see if there's any other like smaller content creators that might be interested.
Yeah, of course. Invite the ones you want. So no problem.
So maybe we'll have a content creator versus community event and going on, but I doubt it's going to happen for the fourth.
Uh,
Just with how short the timetables are.
yeah, correct. Uh, maybe for the modding part, maybe one time you have to come all together and I can do some uh screen share to see how to do some stuff, to make it a bit.
That's going to be for after the fourth, as for now,
Uh,
we just want to get the USA and the UK balanced.
yeah, okay. Yeah, no
Because those
problem.
are the two factions that we will be using during the event.
Okay.
As
What
it's a US independence event, so UK versus USA.
mm-hmm. What are the plans for Scramble? Future plans. All right.
Future plans are first to get the balancing in order for all the factions we're going to be using during the events this summer. So
Yeah.
that would be all the major factions. After that, we'll look at all the minor factions and see where they can be either improved or nerfed a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then just to tackle single player.
Yeah. That will be a
Now,
difficulty sometimes.
that will be difficult, and it will mainly be related with, of course, building chains
Yeah. Okay. And what
and
are
building cultures and
yeah,
which ones can be destroyed.
yeah, correct. Maybe you can
Or
also of course expand your team, huh?
and that's of course also we're looking at maybe doing. Applications are always open in the same form where you apply to be a tester.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a bit of the short term stuff we want to be doing. Of course, I also want to make a new how to play Shogun 2 modern multiplayer video. I want to make a new general how to install Shogun 2 mods manually video because I feel my current one is a bit lacking in some areas.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the general update content on the Carlist Wars.
Yeah. The Carlist Wars are going pretty well forward. During the custom generals, the British I think will finish this weekend probably. Then it's just the Portuguese, and then I start with the Spanish units. Then comes the campaign map that I'm going to build further out, piece by piece, to make it ready, and then
Just adding a bit more detail to it, fixing some
yep,
parts that you were not happy with.
correct. A lot of stuff, props. Going to add. I have to change the trees because I have to take out the tree system because in the south I want more palm trees, but for that I need to add them manually into the game. So yeah, make it much more beautiful, smooth out the campaign map, add some scripts, tests. So testing will be, like a lot. And then make siege maps and custom battle maps.
And those will again require a lot of testing.
Yeah, especially for crashes because as
And
you,
I would also say just pathfinding in general.
yeah, I have noticed that with Shogun 2, um, first of all, Shogun 2 maps are much smaller than Napoleon Total War maps or Empire Total War maps. It's actually baffled me a bit, a bit, not a bit, a bit. But because if you go to the XML files, they actually have the same size, but the size of the Shogun 2 maps are just smaller. So it's really strange why CA did that. It doesn't make any sense. But what I want especially is to add not so much trees into the game or low poly trees. I think the environment can also have much more lower polygon parts, because with this you can make the game go smoother also to play battle.
One thing I would also maybe look at doing is to not have collisions on smaller objects on maps, so units don't have to path around them. So I don't know what map it is anymore in Shogun 2 itself, but it's a little prop with like a couple of wheelbarrows and a bit of fencing, and units have a really hard time pathfinding around that little bit of terrain.
Yeah,
I'll have to look into what map it was again.
I think my view is the same situation. Trees okay, hills, a bit of hills and whatever. It depends which territory, of course, but yeah, not so much props that makes it difficult for pathfinding. The same for siege maps, by the way. You have to make it easy for pathfinding, because it's not only you, but also for the AI, because the AI has it even much more difficult to go around.
So siege maps will be more open, more broader streets.
Yeah, 100%.
That
Because
will that will definitely help now that units are double size.
yeah, the AI just can't handle the smaller streets or whatsoever. So you have to make it much more bigger and
No,
easier.
this is something that I've noticed while playing on current siege maps with the double unit sizes, is that a lot of times units just get stuck in pathfinding, that they just can't figure out how to pathfind in such a small area.
Yeah, correct. Yes, yeah, correct. I have it sometimes even in Battlefield, that the AI, when it goes more than 20 units, it has issues with the pathfinding. You could change that by adding or changing the formation, but because the AI is so pretty stupid, if you give them two lines, one line walks forward and the other one starts shooting. So yeah, the best solution, of course, is just to let them walk in one line. Um, but that makes it difficult, because if you are having more than 20 units, the AI especially, uh,
Just starts bunching up around the edges of the map.
yeah, it starts blobbing up. So then you got like on the flanks, you got like units that are in column and they just start walking forward or running towards you and attacking you. Like really stupid, of course. But yeah, of course, the game is not made to be 40v40 or even more than 20v20. Uh, that I mean, I think 20v20 is okay, not more, because Shogun 2 you can play with much more units if you want to, if you have some reserve troops that are coming in. But I think the game is made for 20v20. But if the regiment units are bigger, uh, it makes it interesting also for the battlefields.
Let's see, anything else we can just quickly discuss still. I've talked about, of course, the events coming up, which more updates on those will follow in the coming days on, of course, time, how they will be held, what requirements there are for you to join. Like, if you don't have a working version of Shogun 2 with the user script we want, you're not getting in.
Yeah,
We're not going to be like past events where you first spend an hour just to get everyone ready. That's why I'm going to be making updated videos on how to play Shogun 2 multiplayer with mods.
yeah. It saddens me that actually CA never made or updated the mod manager to just make it alphabetic. That's actually the a fix I can do, and it fixes the issue for everyone. They make a mod manager where you just have an alphabetic pack file. Now it's like the first one you click is the one that actually gets being or be put first on the list, but it's stupid. I don't never understood why CA never updated that. I think in Rome 2 it is like that. That they put
Uh,
every
in,
pack.
in in Rome 2, I think it is that it is made alphabetic, and that's probably one of the things they learned from Shogun 2.
My question is, can we not use the mod manager from Rome 2 actually, or
I don't think we can.
sucks, huh? Oh,
It
or
would
maybe
be nice if maybe we could crack the current mod manager and reprogram it to do so, and then redistribute it as a update.
yeah, or just make I know that the guys from because in Napoleon and Empire you don't have a mod manager. I think I'm not sure. I think it's be made by the community. If I'm not sure, I think yes. So if someone could make a mod manager that just creates it alphabetically, that's the solution. But with this mod manager, it just doesn't work.
I envision that working as a program you launch before you launch Shogun 2, where it just scans your data folder and displays you all the options. You select the packs you want to load, and it then generates a users.script file that's alphabetical.
Well, yeah, I
And then
think
you load Shogun 2.
well, I think it's much better that way. I think the guys from how you call it from Dartmouth, I think they created in their how you call it in their relauncher or launcher. They actually made an in-game user script system where they just create everything alphabetically. But yeah, I mean, most people now they use um how you call it they use Steam Workshop now, so of course the mod manager gets downloaded directly into their games. So yeah, that's going to be a bit difficult, but yeah.
Well, not really, because the program I'm envisioning is going to be separate from Shogun.
Yeah.
So the way I want it to work is that you would launch the program, it would go and look at everything that's in your data file, data folder, display it to you. You choose what packs you want to load. It then generates the user.script file and overrides the one currently in app data. And then you launch the game, where the game's mod manager is just going to read that already existing now alphabetical user script file, go, okay, those are the packs I load those packs, and then you just launch the game.
Yeah, possible. A lot of stuff are possible, but yeah.
It's just getting people so far to use something like that. So for the moment, probably for the next four
Because
events, we'll just be using a pre-made user script that everyone has to install.
I think that's the biggest problem in multiplayer Shogun 2. First is mostly people didn't install correctly the mod, or second, the mod manager messes up the entire list, order list, you could say. Those are the two main issues actually. This is where you actually lose most of the time.
And that is why we lost like an hour and a half every time we did an event just getting everyone ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's annoying. There's a lot of stuff that are so annoying. Like I always complain about CA that they have to make a 64-bit game for Shogun 2. Makes the game run so much smoother, but okay.
That just reminded me of another thing I wanted to do. I want to do a video explaining people how to do the 4 GB VRAM patch.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it manually, yeah, in the preferences script.
Yeah, that's the tutorial I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, it's really helpful because it does really use 4 gigs of RAM for and it makes your game it makes it that you crash lesser because most crashes you get, I mean, sometimes mods can screw up your game, but if the mod is well made and there are no CTDs normally, then mostly it could be of memory overflow, and then you get a CTD because of course it uses more than 4 gigs. That what that is what actually happened with Scramble a lot in the past because the the textures maps were all HD, and of course if you are playing uh, a battle where all the units have their own texture maps, uniform, hats, hands, faces, weapons, everything full HD maps, and the other armies, the British or something, or the French or whatsoever. Well, then you can get glitches because your GPU can't render it. That's the situation actually I had.
So that's definitely another thing I want to do, but it probably not before the July 4th event. Just because I already have so much stuff to do.
Probably, yeah.
At least exams are over now, so that's good.
That's good indeed, yeah. Um, yeah,
Now
I have
it's
a lot of.
just hoping that I don't have to go back in August.
Hopefully, I don't think so. So yeah. So let's see how it goes with the mod. I mean, I also have a lot of low poly unit parts, and that's one of the reasons I can add 400 units in one regiment, and the game actually still works pretty fine. It's 60 FPS, so I'm happy with that already.
That's also why we're going to be reworking a lot of the stuff you've given us into low poly.
Yeah, I have a lot of low poly unit parts. Some are made by Merlin also. He gave me some that actually are FROC codes that I'm going to use for the car list wars. Tier 2 and 3, I think. Well, yeah, 2 and 3, 4, whatever. So I'm going to use that because it is, of course, better to have very low unit parts, even lower than Napoleon Total War ones, with low res maps, texture maps, and who knows, I can even put not 400 units, but more, maybe 500 or 600 units with a pretty good FPS. So
I honestly think that starts to be just a bit much,
you think so?
especially towards late game where you're going to have a lot of like full stack armies roaming around.
But that's the same for the player normally.
It's the same for the player, but I'm mostly just worried about congestion at that point, where
Hmm.
you're just going to be having so many units on potentially one map if the AI decides, oh, I'm just going to park four of my armies here and you're going to have to deal with it.
True. Um, but I think if I could lower or make different custom battle maps for the campaign with lower poly parts, will make the game run smooth.
It's not so much that the maps need low poly parts, it's that the maps have to be bigger.
Yeah, I'm working on it. They are going to get much bigger. So
That's great.
I'm testing it because I think I can make them like 4 times as big. I'm not sure. At least in the length. I'm not sure in the width, but at least in the length. There's a little trick I could do with the width, but in the length, normally I can get them 4 times as big. I still have to test it. That's what I'm going to do with the maps I actually did with Napoleon Total War, and I have to test that. The only thing is I have to probably lower a bit the height maps to make it much longer.
That would be really interesting to see if I would be okay with 600 man rifle unit, 600 man line units if the maps were bigger.
Yeah, working on it. So that
So
is the
that's good to hear that that's at least an option.
yeah. I think you could go 4 times bigger until 8,000 or something. Theoretically, it's 8 kilometers. I think if you I'll put kilometers, but it's just a value in bits. But now we are. I think the vanilla Shogun 2 map is 2 by 2, um, in pixel size, you could say, or tile maps. I don't know how you call it, but because in the game it uses a different system. So, but it's 2 by 2, so 2048 by 2048, and you can go until 8192. I think even 16, if I'm not sure, but it has to be tested if it's stable enough to go into 16. So
No, that would be some interesting testing.
Yeah,
How
that will
long would
be.
it take to reach the other corner of the map?
Will take a lot. I already can hear complaints of players that saying their maps are too big.
How?
I don't know. There are some players like complain that maybe the maps will be too big or something, and the units are too tired when they are at the other side. And you have some players that complain sometimes.
One thing they have to realize is that Carlos Dwarves is not really going to have melee units.
Correct. Yeah.
Like your cav will be melee, but there's like no Qing Empire coming with like Yellow Banner swordsman.
Yeah. Correct. Hmm.
So in the shooting sense, fatigue doesn't really matter because as far as I know, it doesn't actually have an impact on either your reload or your accuracy.
No. The Carly Wars is made for single player. It's not made for multiplayer. I still have an idea for the future. If you guys are working on a realism patch and it works out pretty well, I can take over those stats and then make it an MP mode that really concentrates only on MP battles, actually. So in that case, yeah, things can be tested. But for the moment, Cards War is single player and means that the stats are made more beneficial for the AI than for the player, actually.
No, there's a lot of things we're going to have to look towards in the future, discuss, and I feel that
Yep.
those are definitely going to be fun topics to discuss in future podcasts.
Yeah, plus I post all the things on the dev team mostly, even the small things. I add everything there, information. So you guys from Scramble can take everything over in if you need so. So no problems.
With that, I would like you to thank you for your time for coming on again.
No problem. You're welcome for asking. Thanks for asking.
So next episode is hopefully with the Scramble team, and maybe do 1 month Scramble, 1 month car list.
Yeah, of course. No problem. I'm most of the time available.
So with that, I would also thank all of you guys for listening and sticking with us till the end, and I hope to see you again in the next episode.
See you then, guys.